was Gavaskar, the real master. Just like a wall, we couldn't know Gavaskar at all. Not at all. You know the West Indies couldn't know Gavaskar at all.
There we go. Finally. You can do the introduction today for a change.
Hello and welcome to episode 28. I think this is like our third go around at trying to record this episode. That is our university cricketer who apparently now plays so much university other sports that he doesn't have time to do anything for the podcast. I am our, as always, respected journalist who is patiently waiting for SP to get his act together.
Yeah. Siddhant Pradhan, Aditya Devrat, in case you don't already know our names, but I guess if you've been watching,
I think 28 episodes, then you should know our names. But yeah, if you don't know, now you do.
We don't really have that many listeners or viewers, so kind of helps. Anyway, lots of cricket going on. And however, the main focus of today's episode is not going to be on field affairs. It is going to be on off-field affairs.
Yes.
We've had, so the big three have all had separate meltdowns over the last, 2 months? We're going to focus on the biggest of those meltdowns. But in the meantime, let's quickly go through the roundup.
The roundup. Like I said, for the third time. So now more things to round up.
Not really.
India-New Zealand series. India-New Zealand series happened. Yes. No, India-New Zealand series happened. T20s were won by India. Test series was also won by India. We had a nice moment in the second test with Ijaz Patel getting 10 wickets in the first innings. In a loss, which was kind of took away from his achievement a little bit, but still a great moment. Only the third time that's happened in Test cricket.
First time it's happened in a loss.
And the first time it's happened in a loss. First time it's happened by a bowler bowling in their home city, though, because Ijaz Patel is from Mumbai, even if he's playing for New Zealand.
I mean, if you say technically he is from Mumbai, yes.
But I mean, he was born there. He himself says he has family there. Why do you want to argue about this?
No, I'm not arguing about this. Good Lord. Okay, go on. Talk too much.
Pakistan have won now, what is it, three T20s?
Yeah, they absolutely smashed the West Indies earlier today.
Yes. Yeah. So they've won all three of the T20 series. That's happening in Pakistan, which is a big moment for them. Slight scare over
not slight, very big scare over COVID.
Yeah, in fact, big scare over COVID. The ODI series has been postponed till next June. In the meantime, Pakistan showing that their T20 form from the World Cup was not a fluke, which we probably already knew going into the World Cup anyway.
So that's that, and of course the main event. Despite
the Ashes is happening.
Despite Tim Paine's shenanigans, the Ashes is happening.
Tim Paine got sacked as captain because after leading Australia out of the dark moment of Sandpaper Gate, it turned out that he also failed to uphold elite culture
and expose, basically.
Yes, and he definitely did not have any elite texting.
So in case you guys are not aware of all the things that Tim Paine isn't good at, here they are on a list. And for all our audio viewers,
don't make me look for your tweet.
I'm not going to make you look for it. I'm just going to say that for everybody listening to us on any of the audio platforms, please switch and find it. But yeah, he's now also not good at babysitting and texting.
Hang on. According to SP, things that Tim Paine is shit at: 1, cricket; 2, captaincy; 3, babysitting; 4, sledging; and 5, texting.
In that order. Anyway.
Salient points to remember is that Tim Paine got Ashwin to the Gabba, and then that was Tim Paine's last test. His career is over, etc., etc. We can now. I think all the jokes are tired.
Yeah. Moving on. So Alex Carey anyway came in as wicketkeeper. Pat Cummins was given the captaincy on a permanent job, and then in a stroke of hilarity, everything that happened in Sandpaper Gate has been pretty much reversed today.
Yes, they named Steve Smith vice captain, and then Pat Cummins is missing the second test because of being a close contact of someone who's tested positive for COVID. So therefore, Steve Smith is captain.
So Steve Smith is captain, and everything that happened in the preceding 3 years and all of the elite cultural reviews and elite, they even have an integrity unit for what knows. But whatever, elite integrity out the window. Steve Smith is back as captain. On the cricketing front, in case anyone expected England to actually have a shot in this Ashes series, guess again, because they got absolutely pasted in the first test.
And they're getting pasted again.
Pasted in the second one as well. Despite having and this is English cricket for you. No, we are going to manage our bowlers' workloads, and we'll save all our seam and swing bowlers for the second test. Yeah,
because
Australia,
it's a test.
220 foot 2 stumps on day one, and that is despite everyone getting a few nicks, but England just being so shit at Test cricket that Australia in this, Josh Buttler has dropped 2 catches today?
Yeah, 2, and the second one was a sitter.
Absolute sitter for a wicketkeeper. Should have swallowed it whole. Anyway, England went to the Gabba, got knocked over for 147 in the first inning, or after electing to bat on a green top. Anyway, they're 1-0 down and staring down the barrel of 450, 500, and then they're probably going to get rolled over by Michael Neser and Jai Richardson. I think Stark is the only frontline quick they're playing.
Yeah, because Josh Hazelwood has a side strain. Cummins, as we mentioned, has that COVID close contact. England rested Anderson and Broad for the first test, brought them back for the pink ball test. Hasn't really paid off yet. Though they've kept the run rate down, I guess. That's the one good thing you can say. Maybe.
Whatever. So basically everything we have said about the Ashes has come true in the first 2 test matches.
We should, just to get it on record, SP predicted 3-1, I predicted 4-0 to Australia. I get the feeling both of us have been a little too kind to England because it could very easily be 5-0.
I think it might just very easily be 5-0. But if you're English and you're watching this, boys, you guys are in for some long nights. Anyway, that's basically the roundup, isn't it? Is there anything you want to add? Oh, right, of course. There is BBL action on, in case anyone wants to watch that. And there's the Lanka Premier League. So there is some T20 on, in case anyone still hasn't had enough T20 cricket this year. But anyway, that's basically a roundup. I'm just going to swap it over to him in case he has something to add.
No, I think there are some things I would have included the roundup, but they'll come up in our India talk anyway. So
yeah, fair enough. So the main update from the India thing is that we now have a limited overs captain who is the same. Instead of Virat Kohli just quitting T20I captaincy and staying as ODI captain, no. BCCI said, no, fuck you. Tata, bye-bye. You are going to be only test captain now. We think that if you're captaining 2 limited overs teams, it's too much captaincy. He was captain in all 3 formats. How that works, fuck me.
So just to give a quick rundown, after the India-England series ended, prematurely, there was suddenly a lot of talk started happening, sort of behind the scenes, rumors of Kohli possibly having tiffs with people in the BCCI or being removed or whatever. Then on his own, Kohli announced that the T20 World Cup would be his last assignment as T20 captain for India. He also resigned from captaincy of RCB, but that's inconsequential.
They're not winning anything anyway, so it's fine.
Yeah, exactly. At the time, I don't know, it kind of seemed like he may have jumped before getting pushed. I think the more we read into it and the more developments that have happened, it seems even more like that. The latest thing is Kohli himself had a press conference yesterday ahead of the team, ahead of the India-South Africa series, where he's been talking about all of the speculation that's been going on. The BCCI's communication has just been really, really lacking.
As always.
I think, yeah, exactly. It's ironic given who the head of the BCCI is at the moment, and we'll get into this. But the point is, So when they announced that Kohli would also not be ODI captain, it wasn't just being removed from T20I captaincy, as is the new way with the BCCI, which has been going on for like, I don't know, 5-6 years, possibly longer. There was no press conference. They used to, if people remember back in the day, there used to be press conferences announcing the team. Selectors used to do this ahead of tours or ahead of any big series. Now there was just a one-liner press release saying that Rohit Sharma is the ODI captain. Virat Kohli is no longer ODI captain either. And then Saurav Ganguly tried explaining this by saying that one, we want only one white ball captain. We don't want a T20 captain and an ODI captain separately. White ball captains should be the same. I guess you can somewhat understand the logic there, but logic kind of loses its value in this setup when all of the other illogical things are happening. More crucially, Saurav Ganguly said that he asked Kohli to...
What do you mean by logic? It's the BCCI. What logic?
Exactly. So, Ganguly claimed at the time that he asked Kohli not to step down from T20 captaincy. In Kohli's press conference, he said that, look, I went and told them that I didn't want to be T20 captain anymore. There's been crazy workloads and whatnot. So I think he must be feeling a little burnt out. He might have felt the pressure to resign anyway. But he claimed that, no, I was never asked not to leave the captaincy. I just told them that I'm leaving, and that was the end of the discussion. Then ahead of the selection for the South Africa series, the selectors told him he wouldn't be ODI captain, and he said, fine, okay, cool, whatever. I'm sure he was disappointed, but he said that he was informed in that selection meeting that he wouldn't be captain. That's the rundown of what happened. I think in terms of blow by blow facts, the problem is that there's been lots of speculation and rumors flying about that the BCCI has done nothing to address, and their own lack of communication in terms of just not managing the speculation and never getting out in front and like having someone front up and say exactly what happened has created to a really bad climate around the Indian team at the moment.
It's funny though, because look, I mean, Rohit Sharma and Virat Kohli have been teammates basically since they started their careers.
Yeah.
So I don't see it causing any issue between them.
Yes, and Kohli was very clear to make, he made this point very clearly. He's like, there's no, I've said this so many times, there's no rift between me and Rohit Sharma. We communicate well, we get along well as teammates. There's nothing there. And of course, this is the Twitter era. You have factions and fanboys of each side, so it ends up getting ugly in the fans side of things. But within the team, apparently, it is not that.
There's also the other fact of the matter is, this has come on the back of Kohli making some comments about Islamophobia in India.
Yeah, and after India lost the match to Pakistan at the World Cup,
at the World T20,
Mohammad Shami got a lot of abuse on social media, and then Kohli came out and spoke very strongly against that. Of course, this is the modern India where we can't talk about Islamophobia. It's like, it's
because taboo. We can't do that. And also remember, the BCCI is run by the son of the Home Minister of the country. So,
Yes, exactly.
So we're not, we're just speculating here, but it reeks a bit of it.
Yeah, that angle definitely, I mean, I will say it is definitely speculation, but there is given how forceful Kohli is as a public persona when he says anything, and let's make it clear, it's not like Kohli's come out and started talking about the BJP and he said anything political. He just said there's no space for abuse. We don't do that on within our team. We're supporting him. There's no and he said something about that being the lowest of the low in terms of people who do that kind of abuse. It's not really, shouldn't in any angle be a sackable offense, but like you said, Amit Shah's son is BCCI. What is Jai Shah's official title? Secretary. Yeah. So, So there could be a link there, but we should say that the whole they started from before that because the T20 captaincy issue came up before that, and the rumors that started coming out after the England series was all before that match.
Okay, let's be honest. Let's first get one point out the way. Neither me nor him actually opposed the changing of the captaincy.
Yeah, I mean T20 especially. I feel like Rohit Sharma has been a better limited overs captain at least in the IPL format. We've seen him. I mean, arguably Mumbai have also consistently had a better team than RCB, but Rohit Sharma's gotten a lot of praise as captain for the way he's led that team, and of course the most successful team in the IPL a lot, and most of that has come under Rohit Sharma as captain. I think when the World Cup rolled around, Kohli probably wanted to sign off with the win. Obviously, that didn't happen. We got knocked out in the group stages, adding more to Rohit Sharma's case. I think from an ODI standpoint, I don't know. I don't know if that move was necessary. I also don't like this idea that you can only have one limited overs captain. I'm not entirely sure about.
No. So what I was trying to say was that we're not. Okay, it may, especially the ODI one, may not have been necessary, but from a cricketing standpoint, it does make sense.
See, the thing is, Kohli's captaincy is being judged on results, which, this is a results business. You do judge things on results. That's fine. But in both formats, and really in all three formats, under Kohli's leadership, India has been one of the best, most consistent sides in the world. They've had 2 freak days, I guess, in the ODI World Cup semi-final. Playing against New Zealand, it was just one of those bad days at the office.
Three freak days, because remember that game lasted 2 days. Don't forget that.
Right. Yeah. So it's just India have been really consistent. They just haven't won a tournament. And the point is that they've come a cropper against they basically had bad days against Pakistan at the 2017 Champions Trophy final, against New Zealand at the 2019 World Cup semi-final, and then of course the T20 World Cup happened. Probably bad days at the office against both Pakistan and New Zealand in the group stages. But overall, they've been a really, really good side under Kohli.
No. Nobody's denying that. But the point we're trying to make is, okay, fine, he didn't win a world title. And the thing is, Kohli does, especially in the last 2 or 3 years, has focused specifically way more on Test cricket. If you notice all of the breaks he's taken, other than the one obviously where he came back mid-tour of Australia.
During the Australia tour.
Yeah. Other than that, all of that you can sort of look at as an outlier. But all of the other breaks that he's taken have been basically based around him missing limited overs games. Now, T20 internationals anyway are not, they really don't matter that much outside of the World T20. So you're well equipped to miss those. That's fine. So you could see that there was a bit of a shift happening, and Rohit Sharma has pretty much been, except for the last sort of 2 or 3 years, where he's sort of suddenly had this renaissance at the top of the order in Test cricket. Not even the last 2 or 3 years. I should just say the last 2 years. He's been possibly the best sort of, and he has led in limited overs cricket. Remember, he led us to an Asia Cup win a few years ago. So you have to look at it and say, okay, fine. Rohit Sharma's track record is good. He's the most ideal candidate to go straight up into the captaincy. He's been vice captain for donkey's years now. And again, like I said, from a cricketing perspective, maybe you need a bit of refreshing. It makes sense. I'm not saying it's the ideal situation, but it makes sense to me. Maybe you just need a fresh start. We would have liked it at the end of the World Cup in 2023, but hey, it's not the worst time to do it right now.
That was the natural cycle, but also I guess the point must have been that because we are effectively missing out on winning tournaments, and there are 2. Let's not forget there's another T20 World Cup in less than a year. So we've got that plus the ODI World Cup at home in 2023. There are 2 major trophies that India can win, and I think if you're is effectively saying that we need to change captaincy because our current captain isn't winning trophies, let's make the change now.
Which is fair. That's fine. So way it's handled, whole other story.
I mean, just this has been a problem, and honestly, Kohli has had a part of his own to play in this. In the Kohli Shastri era, there's been a lot of combativeness with the media. A lot of it is also honestly media induced in a way, because the Indian cricket media at times can just take a tiny little bit of speculation and just run miles with it. And I think Kohli has gotten very insulated. Even Dhoni was like that. He used to be very, not standoffish, but just very guarded and reserved in his media interactions because he just didn't want anything to get twisted. I think that just got exacerbated by Kohli and Shastri. But yeah, what's happened in the last few months and especially the last few weeks in handling these captaincy changes, where every journalist was being told something different by quote unquote BCCI sources. Random BCCI officials, they may have been random, who knows? Maybe Ganguly was talking straight to Boria Majumdar, and that is our pipeline for information.
In case, hang on. Before we go, in case anybody does not know who Boria Majumdar is, okay, Joseph Goebbels. Problem solved.
Come on, let's be nice. Boria Majumdar is the first person in the entire world to have a PhD in cricket.
Joseph Goebbels. Carry
on. Yeah, this was when Boria Majumdar was arguing about how women's cricket has been handled under Ganguly. He was telling women's cricketers from the rest of the world that, guys, I have a PhD in cricket. I know what I'm talking about. You guys don't.
He also had some very funny Twitter interaction with a fan, and he basically told him that he's a PhD in cricket or whatever.
Yeah. So basically, all of this is happening. But look, there's been a lot of disappointment with this Ganguly regime. Anyway, let's not forget Ganguly technically should not be president anymore. His term has ended. They've just not. By
the way, so has Jay Shah's. Just FYI.
Yes. So there's that. There's all the fuck ups with women's cricket. Currently the most recent thing was the senior one day domestic trophy wasn't even broadcast anywhere. All of our women's players are going and playing great, doing great things in franchise T20 elsewhere, but we still can't set up a women's IPL. We threw them into test series against England and Australia last year, which they did pretty well.
How they have escaped that, those two with 2 draws, I'll never know. And they could have possibly pushed for a win in Australia had it not been for the weather.
Despite coming in completely undercooked in a way that would never happen in men's cricket. So Ganguly has a lot to answer for just on that front. He's just completely neglected women's cricket. But also here, just like what has been going on in the last 3 weeks, like you've had random people talking to journalists spewing off all manner of nonsense. Anyway, Virat Kohli is a bit of a controversial character, not just in England and Australia. Half of the Indian population doesn't like him because he's too brash and
no. The latest one is he's too woke.
Yeah. Oh, and now he's too woke also, right? Correct, because he spoke about Islamophobia. So we have all of these Indian people who don't like him for his attitude and whatnot. So he's clearly rubbed some people the wrong way.
The other point that I want to bring up before we go on about Kohli is that Shastri is not there anymore.
Shastri's not there, and this is actually another thing. It's very interesting. He's getting away with being not mentioned at all in this crisis. Rahul Dravid has come in and coach, and this has happened instantly after that. And that can't be a coincidence. Everyone wants to think about Rahul Dravid. I'm a huge Dravid fan. Let's get this clear. I don't want to start taking shots at him. But everyone wants to get into this idea of Rahul Dravid, the nice guy. This is all, he's being Ganguly's doing all this bad shit, and Dravid is just going to have to deal with it. I would be highly surprised if a coach has come in and is at the very least he knows this is going to happen and he's okay with it. If not the fact that he's quietly but forcefully advocated for this to happen.
So, okay, let me add my two. Now, we know for a fact that Rahul Dravid is one of those people that always talks with a straight bat, like his batting. So
he doesn't talk, actually. That is the thing.
Whatever. He does lets his bat do the talking, or in this case, he lets Ganguly do the talking. I don't know which one is true. But look, I don't think Dravid's the kind of guy that's going to come out and not front up to the media. So I don't see that as being it. Even if he knew about the captaincy change, I don't think this would be his way of doing it. So this, for me, this completely, it's a sideshow. Honestly, it is just distracting from everything that's going on. It's taking heat off the BCCI, who have absolutely torched the international schedule this year. It is an absolute shambles. We've spoken about this a lot before. But you cannot be playing 31 random T20 internationals. 31. And only 4 test matches.
I think I saw a stat where we've played over the last 2 or 3 years, we've played twice as much total international cricket as any other side. That includes the other big 3 teams.
Yeah, because Australia haven't played cricket since they lost to us in bloody January.
Yeah, exactly. They hadn't
other than the World T20 and losing 3-2 in Bangladesh. So, I mean, Nathan Lyon basically went an entire year before picking up his 400th wicket. Why? Because he didn't play.
Yeah. We can get into Aussie bashing later.
No, but the point.
But the point is, BCCI has like just burnt these, run these, and look, it's showing in other ways. Look at the fact that Rohit Sharma's, gotten injured, missed the Test match, is missing the Test series in South Africa, might miss the ODI series. Jadeja is now injured. Bhuvneshwar Kumar, who's one of our most promising pace bowlers for a while, has broken down completely. Hardik Pandya, who's one of our most promising cricketers in general for a while, has again, has had his own injury issues, completely broken up because we play too much cricket, and it's hard to manage your fitness at that point. It's a crazy. It's honestly, it's good on Kohli to not get injured because he manages workload.
But also those injuries. Okay, Bhuvneshwar Kumar, I blame. A lot of that is down to the fact that he did not want to miss the IPL. I think he was given the opportunity to not play the IPL. It would have been a different story. The thing is, a lot of them all want to keep playing the IPL, and with fair reason to all the cricket, to all the cricketers, I say, look, you guys want to play the IPL, go ahead. We're not begrudging you that at all whatsoever. But it contributes to injuries like this. It does. And anyone who wants to argue with me on that, would be come my way.
But it would be easier for the IPL to not contribute to injuries if we played less international cricket also. And that's not let's prioritize IPL over international cricket. We just play way too much international cricket anyway.
No, I agree. I'm not denying it. There's just way too much cricket to begin with. I mean, we had 3-4 days between the end of the World T20 and us playing New Zealand in another random T20. So, I mean, it's a bit ridiculous. But it's all kind of, I think, do you know what? It's reached this point now where everything just sort of has come to a head. And if they hadn't sacked Kohli from the ODI captaincy, I don't think the gloves would have come off. But now the gloves are off. Now he can say what he wants in the test as test captain.
But I also think it's a lot of pressure because now if he doesn't, listen, winning in South Africa isn't easy. But now if India don't win in South Africa, and Kohli, let's not forget, has had a lean patch of his own in Test cricket. If he doesn't perform, I think he's putting himself under the firing line a lot more. I don't know whether Ganguly and the selectors are bold enough to just drop him completely, but I feel like he's put his Test captaincy on the line with his. And the thing is, it's not actually what he said in his press conference yesterday. It was not actually controversial. All he did was put an end to the speculation. The problem is it shouldn't have been his job to put an end to the speculation. There should have been clearer communication from the selectors. Chetan Sharma should have done this. Ganguly should have done this. Ganguly may have been talking shit. Ganguly may have been telling the truth. I don't know. There may be just a communication gap somewhere, but
there may be something else going on. We don't know.
Yeah.
But the point is, the way it's come off, it reeks of 2 or 3 things. One, the BCCI towing an Indian government line on Islamophobia. Biggest thing that we are going to talk about, but nobody else will. B, we've known about this chronic problem with communication that they had. Remember the whole Mr. 3D incident before the 2019 World Cup? I mean, that was just hilarious. But again, it came down to that same point.
No communication.
No communication. You're looking at things like, again, the women's IPL, a lot of the injury issues, the whole Saha thing versus Rishabh Pant, that's also a line of communication thing.
Yeah. I mean, that's also a slight, that I don't know, that's just the fact that, Saha had struggled in Test cricket as a batter. And
No, not that. When he got injured, when he broke his finger, I think.
Oh, and we never knew what's
Saha. Yeah, no one knew. Exactly.
Yeah.
So, and that is our 20 minutes. But, so just to
sum up. There's a coda to add to this, a minor history lesson, which makes this all the more, shitty, is that Sourav Ganguly went through this entire thing himself when he was captain. When Greg Chappell came in as coach, there was a huge tiff. I think the way a lot of other players have reacted to Chappell since makes me be a little more sympathetic to Ganguly. Basically, every Indian cricketer of that era has insulted Chappell. Not insulted, but attacked the way Chappell was good. But the point is, Chappell kind of had a conversation with Ganguly about his Test form and captaincy. Ganguly didn't like it. It all leaked in a really bad way to the media. It was all handled very poorly. And then it's come full circle where Ganguly is the one in the position of higher power this time around, and he's doing the same thing.
The circle of life, isn't it? Yeah, that's basically the issue. I mean, really, all everybody wants is more communication from the BCCI.
More actual official communication, and not whispering things to Boria Majumdar and whoever else your friends in the media are.
Boria Goebbels.
I think calling him a Nazi is a little much, but
I mean, after all, he is only a cricket journalist, so maybe that's a bit much. You're right. But
he's a particularly annoying cricket journalist.
Yeah, because no one listens to him. Anyway, he's like I can't believe I'm going to say this, but he's like the Akash Chopra of the journalism world. Also, before we end this segment, I just want to add one thing. Can someone please start a petition like we got rid of Sanju Manju? Can we please, for the love of God, get rid of Murali Kartik?
Oh my God, Indian cricket. So let me put it this way. Kartik has been so bad that Indian cricket Twitter has been clamoring for the return of Sanjay Manju. Like that's how bad Kartik has been.
Oh my God. Anyway, that's a thing that's an argument for a different time when we have actually more time. On that very happy note, it is time to move on to our favorite segment of the evening.
Please just do the honors of introducing it.
What is it? Do you know what it is? It is the New Balls Cricket Awards.
We have a proper one, our first one in a long time.
First proper award. I'm so happy to give this one away.
So just to explain this award is meant to be for people who take wickets off no balls. Just so that doesn't happen enough, so that we just found other stupid, shitty things to give the awards for. But we have one now.
Benjamin Stokes. The return of Ben Stokes, of course, he cleaned David Warner up with a no ball, and then of course they found out that this is Australian cricket for you. The no ball technology had broken down, so the umpire couldn't just do. He has to listen to the guy and then do that now. But
so they could only review it when a wicket happened, then there was a TV review. That's how they knew it was a no ball.
Yeah, basically. So what ended up happening was he bowled 17 no balls, of which only one was called, the one that he bowled David Warner on. So that,
and literally every ball leading up to that wicket was a no ball. That wasn't called.
Basically. So anyway, for this week's No Balls Cricket Award, Ben Stokes, you are a first time winner. Also, one more award to give away. PSL auctions were last week. PSL auctions had 3 separate categories. You know where I'm going with this. Some Pakistani cricketer who, for the short brief period before we introduce him, shall remain nameless, realized that he has gone from, I think, whatever was above gold to gold, and then to silver.
Diamond.
Oh, sorry, diamond to gold.
No, he was diamond, and then he went to gold and then to silver.
Then he went to silver. Okay. Then when he realizes he's getting picked in the silver category, he's like, no, fuck you guys now. My ego's hurt. I don't want this bullshit. I'm so hurt. I don't want
humiliation.
I don't want to play PSL. Now, it would be fine if this was any Pakistani cricketer of worth who had not retired and who did not have a shit reputation for either fixing or just being a shit keeper. You guys see where we're going with this now? If you guys haven't already got the hint, who is it?
Oh, no, you've done too much of a good build-up.
No, I'm going to let you have it. I'm going to let you have this one. I don't normally let you have, so I'm going to let you have this one. Who is it? Now, remember, there are 3 brothers. Right?
All 3 of them hilarious.
All three of them hilarious.
But this is the OG.
Yeah, the OG. Again, now
the OG.
I've given you all the clues now.
The OG Akmal brother of Pakistan cricket.
I've given you all the clues. Now you know it's an Akmal brother also.
I've said the name also now. Kamran Akmal.
you get this award
for the best hissy fit in cricket that we've seen in a long time.
Better than Shakib Al Hasan.
Oh yeah,
high praise.
Better than Shakib.
Better than Shakib. For a hissy fit, better than Shakib. You and our.
I always forget, by the way, that current Pakistan all-format captain Babar Azam is a cousin of the Akmal brothers.
Yeah, and yet he does not keep wickets. Thank God.
He's not a keeper, and he's not a drama queen.
No, but do you know why he doesn't keep? Do you know why he doesn't keep wickets? Before we end the show, do you know why he doesn't keep wickets? Do you really want to know why he doesn't keep wickets?
Go on.
He's only a cousin, not an actual brother. Anyway, on that very happy, hilarious note, thank you all for watching. This has been the No Balls Cricket podcast, not to be confused with No Balls the Cricket podcast, which is run by women.
Don't confuse us with Alex Hartley and Kate Cross. We are not as good looking.
Still has not added me on Bumble, but I think the time has passed.
I think that's gone.
Yeah, I think that's gone. If you're watching on YouTube, please remember to like, share, subscribe. Don't get Omicron variant. Don't do Florentino Perez's drugs. Say cheese. Cheese. Yeah, I had a Pringle packet like next to it. Anyway, say cheese, and please click on the bell icon that's sort of floating around. Remain notified of all our new videos and all our content. And in case you are listening on audio, my buddy will deal with this.
If you are listening to us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Anchor, Pocket Cast, or Pocket Addict, please remember to follow and subscribe.
What is Pocket Addict? It's Podcast Addict.
I said Podcast Addict.
You said Pocket Addict.
I said Pocket Cast and Podcast Addict.
You said Pocket Cast and Pocket Addict.
All right, listen, you know what? You have one thing to say. You have to say YouTube. I have many different things. I'm allowed to make them.
1 minute, I have to keep track of all the bullshit that comes up with the YouTube thing, man.
Bullshit that you add. So that's like.
Yeah, I know. And the list gets longer every day. God damn it.
Right, let's try this again. Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Anchor, Pocket Cast, Podcast Addict. If you're listening to us on any of these platforms, please follow and subscribe.
We are still not on Google.
I don't know when we're going to be back on Google.
I don't know when we're going to be back on Google. There's technical difficulties that we haven't figured out. Anyway, having said all of that, have a good rest of the week. Have a good weekend.
Yes.
We
will be back with an Ashes preview halfway through the series.
We'll call it a pre-review. Our Ashes pre-review. Also, I will be soon. I will be enjoying some sunshine while that is happening. So, on that very happy note, it is time to end. Thank you all for watching and listening, and have a good one.
See you guys.
Come on, Aussie, come on, come on. Come on, Aussie, come on.